Welcome to Bridging the Gap, If These Walls Could Talk. I've got Zeta Billman here from Lux 10 with us, and then we've got Ty Allen. Really excited to dig into a conversation with her and learn about her business. Let's get started. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is going to be an interesting conversation. So Ty and I have known each other for a bit here. We go back to the Verizon days, so we kind of reminisced on a call before. We had some conversations. Zeta, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Yeah. Excited to come back together and do another great show. So, Ty, do you want to take a minute and introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Well, my name is Ty Allen, and I actually own a real estate brokerage, a boutique brokerage in the area. Not even a year old. We opened in the summer of last year. So I'm a state licensed broker, and the name is Unity Concord Real Estate. And we do everything any other broker does. So, like the Remaxes of the world, that Howard Hanna's, the Coldwell Bankers, like we're just a smaller version.
Okay.
And we have the same capability to sell, buy, consult, property management, everything that they can do, we do. It's just that we're in a smaller box.
Yeah, awesome. So where are you located in the city?
We're actually in North Shore.
Okay.
Right on River Avenue.
Okay. So tell me about the footprint that you're engaged in the Pittsburgh market. What's that look like for you?
Well, we're looking to service everyone, obviously, because that's what our license entails. But we basically focus on a lot of the disadvantaged population.
Okay.
Like minorities. We look at, veterans. We look at the disabled. So we focus on those more as a client-centric service to them. So they know, like, hey, you get the same service through us. No matter sort of what your background looks like.
Yeah.
We service everyone if you're able to be qualified.
That's awesome. Zeta, that's super unique. I've never really heard that type of a focus.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome that you do that. And it makes a lot of people everyone feel like you have a home, right? So can I ask, tell me a little bit about what made you branch out and do this on your own? Because, I mean, that's very brave and it takes a ton of commitment. So share that little history with us.
Well, I've been in a bunch of different corporate settings, i.e. corporate America, the different, big corporate companies. And then, went into real estate, more of the entrepreneurial type focus when you become an agent, as you know. You're like agent 2.0, right? But when you go into being an agent, you still have a sense of the corporate world, but you're more like, hey, what can I do from an entrepreneurial standpoint? And you have more buy-in to or should I say autonomy to do what you feel is right in your core, right? But when you're hanging your license at a brokerage that you don't own, you follow their corporate competencies. And whether you agree with it or not, because that's just the law. Like you have to hang your license at a brokerage. So when you start to feel like your internal standards are not the same as where your license is hung. I mean, you can play the dance card where you move your license to a bunch of different brokerages, or, you do the bold thing that I just did, which is to create something brand new and say, hey, this is going to follow my core, my corporate culture that I want to build on my own. So that way, you don't have to have any divisiveness as far as, like what people's visions are. Like you're the owner. So it's going to follow the vision that you feel as though can move the communities forward.
Well, that's super impressive that you've taken the leap to do that. Tons of courage and obviously a lot of commitment.
Thanks.
So congratulations
on
that.
So Ty, the two things that just jumped out at me. So I think number one, core values is something that I want to hear about, but the other part that you brought up, and we just had a retreat, we had all of our inner circle members come into, and the title for the event was Relentless Vision. So, vision is the other thing that I want to hear about. So, first tell us about the core values and kind of what they are and why you started your business because of those core values. And then what is that vision that you have for the organization, and, how is it impactful to the people that you're onboarding? Tell us a little bit of background there.
Well, as far as our vision, it's dreams realized to home realized for everyone, and emphasis on everyone.
Right.
Because if you have that dream, it wants to basically has to start there. If you have the dream of home ownership, or let's say if you're the elderly population, or I call it a more mature population. And a lot of times they need a little bit more help to get their home together and to sell. Um, I've took a lot of training to, have certifications to deal with those type of clients.
Okay.
Like the elderly clients, veteran clients, disadvantaged populations, et cetera. So, you can sort of match it to the mental behind that. Like a lot of them really feel as though they really can't. And there's a lot of counsel that goes into them making that move. So they have to trust your expertise. So, one of those core competencies is having the knowledge to do your job. So just the core competency of, like, can you do a real estate transaction? And then the integrity, to me, behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, like, do they trust what you're doing? Because in our industry, we have such a big light shined on us because of, some of the litigation that's going on and the trustworthiness of who you're doing business with. So those two are the biggest for me, is to make sure that they trust what you're doing and that you actually know what you're doing. And you can take it from the consultation to the closing table.
Okay. So interestingly enough, we just did a conference with veteran service brands.
Mhm.
So veterans are near and dear to my heart. My dad was in the military.
Mine too.
So I never served,
Mhm.
but I really have a respect for the people. So anything that we can do to give back or help. So veteran service brands, they have about 120 franchisees across the country. They do things like they have Paint Core as one of their businesses, asphalt line striping, which is G-Force. So to get into that, you have to be a veteran in order to be able to qualify to purchase. How did you come up with the focus on the veteran piece of the business?
Well, just talking about my pops. So, he gave 30 plus years
Okay.
in the military. So we were sort of like military children. We wasn't like traveling all over the place, but we grew up with MREs and stuff like that, like the bags. We'd tear them open and take the candy out.
Yeah.
So we grew up in that type of environment. Not only that, like my daughter, like she went for the Air Force, and then my son-in-law, he serves now for the National Guard.
Okay.
So like we have like a lot of military in our family. And when I pulled the statistics on, like them coming back and some of them being homeless or not being able to get health care, like that struck a nerve with me. Because how do you serve, whether it's abroad or domestically, and you can't come back and at least guarantee that you have a place to stay. So, I wanted to basically know that, hey, if you want to own a home, we know how to service you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, great focus. I mean, and I always say if you always try to do the right thing, eventually there's going to be a value or benefit that someone perceives. And I think that's the thing. Like if you do right by one of the veterans, they're going to tell others.
Right.
And same for the community in general. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that will say, "Hey, she did the right thing for us," and take us back. So Zeta, I'm curious on your side with realty in the background. What questions do you have for Ty? And I'm curious how you're interested to dig in with her, because I think there's a lot to tell here.
So, the one thing I would comment is that the authenticity that is just beaming from you with it is super impressive. But, I always find that with real estate, you find your niche, right? If you find your niche, your people will come,
Yes.
right? Because you know who you want to serve and you know who you can do that really well with and make them feel super comfortable. So, Jim, you just touched on that, just saying, you help one, you'll get a whole tribe that will come to you. So that's impressive. And that there is a need. I mean, I think every different bracket of someone that you're trying to serve, all of us have a niche, and finding out who that is and really digging in and doing it really well. So that's amazing. And it's something that there is a need in our industry to find these specific niches and help all people. So I just think it's really great that you're doing what you're doing.
Thanks.
And you're doing it really well.
Thank you.
And
And it means a lot coming from you. I have to get that on camera.
Yeah.
It means a lot coming from Zeta.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, honestly, I think just like what you're doing and what I do, we do it because we just love it.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like I love serving my people, right? And I love helping families find home and creating, like I always say, like I'm not just selling houses,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're selling that the process of creating your dreams, having your family there, and creating an environment that feel safe, that you're excited about,
Yeah.
and it's your future. I mean, where you're building your family, it means a lot.
Yes,
So we want to make sure we do it really well.
that's correct.
So yeah, so we do the same thing.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be candid and say, like, I had zero clue that if you were a realtor or had a brokerage that you could focus or narrow down. Like, I just thought we just served everybody, right? I mean, I had no perception of, a very specific segment of people. And that's amazing that's the case.
It's important because honestly, the rule of thumb is you always think that if you feel like you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one, right? Because no one feels heard if you're talking to everyone. So for us, I mean, for Ty to be able to speak exactly to that clientele, they know where to go.
Yes.
Right? So I feel like my niche is, I live in Wexford. I want the people in Wexford to know I'm here for you. I live in Wexford. I know the area. I know the values. I can help you, and I can help you make a really good business decision for your family needs, right? So it's not just about, there's a full package that goes with it, right? It's, you want to help those people get into a home, and you want to help them do it right. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just helping people find home and do it where they're making good choices, because we've got a lot of people that transfer in and out of our areas, right?
Yes,
And we want to
yes.
make sure that we're helping them protect their investment. That's super
Exactly.
important with what we do.
Yeah.
So
So I want to dig into this a little bit. So I just got off of a conference call. We get on, and this woman is in LA, but from Boston. She asked me, where are you located? I said, I'm in Pittsburgh. And she said, oh my gosh, I am the biggest Pittsburgh fan. And I said, oh, well, tell me about that. Like, what's going on? She said, well, you guys have the Brooklyn of Pennsylvania with Lawrenceville. She had a friend who just moved to Lawrenceville. She said, it's so unique, the culture, the uniqueness of what's there, and the people, and the different restaurants and places that you can visit. So let's talk about the Pittsburgh market and how you're engaged in the Pittsburgh market. Tell me, outside of your business, what type of networking and engagement do you have within the community? What are you doing outside of your four walls?
Well, outside of our four walls, where I'm really never inside the four walls,
Right?
to be quite frank.
Yeah.
Like, we have an office, but I'm really never there because I'm always outside doing something else. Like, I've been in the business now for 11 years. So as an agent, I've been at 2 big box brokerages before I started my own. And like, I've been in the community. I'm part of a bunch of different organizations. English is one. And they're a service provider that services disability community, the disabled community, I should say. And they're in Philadelphia, and they're also in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So I was part of their first cohort of small business owners to get specialized training for that population.
Okay.
Part of the Hispanic Chamber and Conference. So, that's just, part expanding out to more the minority community.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, I'm part of the African American community, so I'm part of my own club there.
Yeah.
So I can speak to them. And, the veteran community, sort of figuring out different ways of how to partner with that sector, because that population is important to me, and they're everywhere. So I can't say that they're in one particular area. It's sort of like identifying those people and meeting them where they are.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. So I think networking and engaging the people in the community is critical. That's why we're a member of Lux 10, and we go to the events that they host.
Yes.
And it's unique to get to meet people that are kind of in that same mindset of you. And hey, I want to meet people so that we can talk and have a conversation. But really, when I was, my kids were growing up, they always say, Dad, all you do is talk to people. Well, we talked about this the other day. It's, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you have to listen before you can talk. But I mean, I think really kind of having the ability to get somebody else's insight or thoughts, that's unique to listening to people and having that conversation. So
Yeah, because when you have that dialogue, they'll tell you how they want to be serviced.
right.
And it might be like small nuances that maybe you wasn't aware of. Like I wouldn't consider myself disabled per se. So like, I can't go in there and tell them like, this is how I'm going to service you without having that feedback or that dialogue with them to say, hey, like, we like, this to be augmented, or this to look this way. So that's important feedback, so you know exactly how to service, certain communities.
Right. Yeah, and I think, Zeta, we talk about, the activity that happens in the home versus, the pre and some of the conversation. So, like how much of that, is critical to determine ahead of time? And like, what's that process look like to engage somebody? I mean, do you say, hey, I want to talk about, what are some of the challenges and needs that you have? Like, how do you guys go through that from a realty perspective?
Yeah, so a lot of that's, at the initial conversation, trying to understand what someone's needs are. Why are they looking to move? Is their family growing? Are they downsizing? Do they have family moving in with them, parents, elderly parents? I mean, everyone has different needs. So it's really listening at the beginning and understanding what their needs are and putting things in line with what those needs are and trying to keep them focused on achieving their goals,
Right.
because it's easy for people to get derailed and start, you get big eyes. Well, this house looks great, but then you realize it really doesn't meet your needs, right? It's not what you're looking for. So it's up, for us to have the confidence to keep them on track, because knowing that if we do that, that they're going to land somewhere that they're thrilled with, and it's going to make them a lot happier and know that they've had a great transaction with you. So for me, it's learning and listening up front, and then guiding and really navigating the process with them, for them, in their best interest. So
Yeah. Hey, so, sticking with our theme, if these walls could talk, I'm curious. So let's go inside of the home. You're out, you're doing a visit to a home that's for sale or a listing, and you've got a client that's with you. Like, what are some of the things that you're seeing in the home? Like, what happens? What's the transactional, experience look like for them? What's the unique thing that's jumped out at you? Like, you walk into this one home and it's crazy. Like, I can't believe this was here, or I saw this that was really unique or historical, or, tell us about some of the stuff that you experience if these walls could talk.
Well, I have a lot of stories about, just home tours in general. But if we talk about, just following the script of what I do when I walk into a home, mind you, this is Pittsburgh, so first place we go is the basement.
Okay.
You look at me some. You already know what I'm talking about.
you're looking for the Pittsburgh potty. Is it there?
Yeah, so we go.
Does yours have walls?
Yeah, yes, everything. So like we go to the basement first, because especially if it's a flip, a lot of time that's where, the money stops. It's like the kitchen's beautiful. Oh, the bathrooms. Oh. And I'm like, don't look at any of that. We're going to the basement. So now if the basement looks good, there's no, foundational, there's no water, there's no mold, there's no mildew. The Pittsburgh potty is not sitting in the middle of the basement, maybe it's enclosed in something. It's like, okay, so they didn't just neglect the basement altogether. So now let's look upstairs, look how pretty it is upstairs.
Yeah.
So, I always go to the basement first, because to me, like, that's the true foundation of the home, not literally, but figuratively as well. The HVAC is down there, the hot water tank is down there,
Right.
the electrical box is down there. And that's what's going to hold the home up. So I don't care how pretty it is. You can put all the lipstick on that pig that you want.
Yeah.
Like you have to make sure it's sitting on solid foundation.
Okay. I would have never. So, we walk in and my wife's like, oh, the kitchen cabinets, or, the paint color, or, the structure, the layout. Like, those are the important things that I hear in my head.
Yeah,
from her,
I always have a CTJ once people are on and on, and CTJ is coming to Jesus meeting. So, like, I'll have that with them. Like, we'll walk into the door. I'm like, I. That's the door. We're going to the basement first. Now, if we come back up and we're on and on, now you have a reason to.
Yeah.
Right.
Because now we know this house is solid.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that speaks to your character, right? Because you know that when you have a good agent, that's what they're doing.
Yes.
Right? They're saying, let's get the basics first and make
Right.
sure this house has literally a good foundation before you fall in love with something,
Yes.
right? Because for anyone that's really doing this and they have true passion for helping people, you're looking out for the best interest.
Yes.
And we are always
Yes,
looking to
yes.
say, would I sell this home to my mom, my sister?
Right.
Exactly.
Would I buy it myself? And if I can honestly answer, yes, I would, I can feel confident. I can sleep at night because I know that I'm doing right by my
Yes,
clients.
yes.
Yeah.
And that philosophy, it's tenfold, right? Like it comes back to you tenfold. That's not
Does.
why you do it, but that's what happens. When you're just authentic and upfront with people and honest, and you give them true, valid guidance. When I think about how many clients that I've actually said, I think you should reconsider. Like maybe
Yeah.
don't buy this house. I've talked to a lot of people out of buying homes instead of into. I always say, I'm never going to talk you into buying a home.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you ethical guidance.
Exactly.
But if there's something that I would say is not in your best interest, and here's why, 1, 2, 3, I'm always going to be honest and ask people up front, are you okay if I give you my professional opinion on this home? Because I can sleep at night,
Yeah.
right? I
Yes.
know that I did right by them, and I know that if I sell them this home, and they call me a year from now or 2 years from now, and they need to sell it for any reason. No one buys a house thinking they're going to move in a year or two.
Right.
Maybe they do if they're relocation, right? But most people go into a home saying, "This is where I'm going to raise my family," right? Or this is where I'm going to entertain and enjoy my family. They're not thinking of moving. But if they are, I want to know confidently they can give me a call and I can sell that home for at least what they paid, but ultimately for much more than what they purchased it for because they bought a good home, right? And we've thought through any roadblocks that potentially would prevent that on the other side. Because there's no one home that's worth selling to someone to compromise your integrity.
Right.
So it's doing the right thing time and time again. That's how you build your business. And that's why you get repeat business.
Yeah, I mean, in building the business, if you think about that, like if you always do the right thing, but that integrity that you just mentioned, like I think that's critical from a respect standpoint. Like that's how you get the referrals. That's how you get, maybe it's a year or two later that they go, hey, I want to go buy another home. You're engaged with them. You did the right thing. You made mention to them like, hey, I'm not sure this is the one because of X, Y, or Z. Then they have that trust in you that they've developed through that initial transaction that takes them to, maybe buying another home or buying, selling the one that they bought 2 years ago and upgrading or, getting something that's more elaborate or in a school's district that they like. So
yeah, a lot of times, if you're in multiple bid situation, that happens in our market, and you say, I can give guidance to someone to say, listen, you're okay spending this, knowing if your plans are to stay here at least 5 years or greater, no problem. If you're thinking you're going to be out of here in 2 years, potentially with a job transfer, maybe you need to think twice about this. Not that it's not a great home. It's just that it might be a little bit challenging to get your money back in such a short period of time, turnaround time. So I think that having that knowledge, and they can make that decision, it's their choice, it's their home. They may still want to do that, and that's great, and I'll help you get it, right? I can help you secure it, but if you're going to be moving out, it's just something you want to think about before you proceed.
And then, piggybacking off of what everyone is saying, just making sure the way you do business is going to keep you top of mind negatively or positively. So I want to stay on this side of the aisle.
Absolutely.
They're gonna think back to, I don't think I ever want to do business with that person again, or I want to definitely do business with that person again, and I also want to refer them to other people.
Right. It should be a natural
exactly.
thing. It should be very natural because you did a great job. Right?
So I'm going to clarify for all the viewers who maybe don't know what a Pittsburgh potty is. We've been talking about it, but I feel like I have to confess here. So
have you ever had one?
I
have to ask you, have you ever had one?
I've seen them. I've been in houses that have them. I didn't grow up in Pittsburgh. I've been here for about 30 years now. But
you're basically from Pittsburgh.
I'm basically from Pittsburgh now, yes. I knew what they were. The house that we bought before the house that we're in now had kind of a concrete cinder block around the potty, so it wasn't really an official Pittsburgh potty. So a Pittsburgh potty is a standalone toilet that sits in the middle of the basement. So I pulled it up here just to take a look. So the Pittsburgh potty is used to describe the basement toilet in the Pittsburgh area. It was common before World War II, but it has roots in the industrial nature of the Pittsburgh area. So it was driven by people being able to come into the basement, being able to take the clothes off that they worked in the mill and undress and shower, get change, go to the bathroom before going up into the actual house. So that's what the Pittsburgh potty is. So if you ever hear it, now you know.
All about education.
Did you have one,
That's
Ty?
awesome.
Did you grow up with one?
I actually didn't. I'm not from here either.
Oh, I guess I'm the only true Pittsburgher
you?
here.
You are,
then.
you are.
I truly grew up with one.
So I'm a transplant, just like Jim. So I've been here. I use my oldest boy as my barometer. So he was a baby. So 27 years ago. So almost 30 years. But I'm originally from Erie and transplanted here to go to school and has been here ever since. So I learned about the Pittsburgh potty when I joined real estate.
Interesting.
Real estate, yeah.
I literally grew up with one.
Really?
So I grew up in a household, if you can believe it or not. There were 10 of us.
Okay.
So there's 8. I have 7 siblings, 4 brothers, 3 sisters.
Oh, there's 6 of us.
We had a 3-bedroom, 1 bath,
Oh, wow.
full bath,
Okay.
and 1 Pittsburgh potty,
Yeah.
unfinished basement
OMG.
that I grew up in. It was a blast. I wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah.
But we had a Pittsburgh potty. I mean, thank God we had a Pittsburgh potty, right?
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, that like really got us through, but it was interesting. We just thought that was normal. But the house we grew up in had tons of character and was amazing. And, you know, it's just so different. So when I go into homes now and I see that Pittsburgh potty,
Yeah.
I'm like, you
Nostalgia.
laugh at that, you think it's fun, but
No, it's
like
nostalgia.
literally it saved us. I mean,
Yeah,
when you
no,
had
no, no.
10 people, it was great to have an extra bath.
I love educating people about the Pittsburgh potty because a lot of people, you know, just like you grew up in Pittsburgh and still didn't know what a Pittsburgh potty was. So because I put a lot of emphasis on educating my clients as well, like I'll go through that because I have it memorized now. Jim had to Google it. Like I will like, hey, let me tell you the whole history. Do you know what a Pittsburgh potty is? And they're like, no. And then I give them the whole little spiel and they're like, OMG.
Yeah. Well,
You know-
again, expert in your field. That's why people respect you.
Well,
so.
there's 3 unique things to Pittsburgh that I have found is the Pittsburgh potty being one. Number 2 is the pencil sharpener.
Yes.
If you've ever gone into the basement and had the pencil sharpener in there, don't think about removing it. Keep it. It's so great to have that in your space. And then, you know, so you have those 2, and then I forgot the third one. Oh my gosh. The third one was. I totally lost it.
The accent, maybe the accent. Yin's
Yes,
guys going,
Yin.
Yin's guys
we
going
have that.
downtown.
We have that. It'll come to me when I think of it. I'll circle back. But I mean, both of those 2 things. Oh, writing your on the door frame,
The height.
measuring your kids. That was the third thing because it wasn't specific to like a feature in the house, but it was something that I found that people from Pittsburgh, they always measured their kids in the door frames, and no one would ever paint them.
Yeah.
That was it. So we had them. I mean, there were 10 of us. So they were going up all the wall of the door frame. So when people came, my parents were like, no. Can we take the door frame out? They wanted to remove the woodwork and take it with them because it was
Right.
a piece of us.
Sentimental, yeah.
But I've gone to homes and people, it's still there. Where people have it, you see it in the door frames. But that was like who wrote on their walls?
So I didn't realize that I was doing that, but so we have 2 out of 3, right? So
Yeah.
we've got the pencil sharpener.
Oh, okay.
It's near my workbench in
Okay.
the garage, so that's where it was, and that's where I relocated it into a cabinet that I built. But I kept the pencil sharpener.
You relocated it.
But in our garage also, we have the benchmarks
measurements.
of, and I said like,
kids,
hey,
yeah.
if we ever sold this, like we would either have to cut the drywall out because it's right next to our door going from the garage into the house. And that's just where everybody stood. It was there. It was convenient. It was by the pencil sharpener, so you could draw the line. And you know, it's like where my son passed me, and you know, he's taller than me now, and so you have those little, you know, they start at knee high, and then the whole way up, you have all of those markings. But yeah, we'd have to destroy the wall and have it redone before we
or
moved
paint
out.
it or remove it. I mean,
Yeah.
but it's a piece of the house, right? So
And has such sentimental value. Yeah.
I haven't heard about that in any other markets, but in our
Oh,
market,
we did it in Erie.
yeah.
But we didn't chisel a wall out to take it with us. That's exclusively for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome.
So-
Well, hey, listen, appreciate everybody joining. I think we had a great episode. Feel free to reach out to Ty directly. Drop your comments in the post here. Love to have you on. It was really a great experience.
Thanks, Jim, for having me.
Thanks for reconnecting with us.